All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Studio Series Leader Class Shockwave using his Dark of the Moon design. This figure's been out for a number of years, but I got a request from the comments section to take a look at it, and it is one of the few Michael Bay design Studio Series figures that I actually do have, and it's an alright figure. Like I've said before, I'm really not a huge fan of the Michael Bay designs. Shockwave is one of the ones that actually looks a little bit more like, related to his G1 design at all compared to a lot of the other ones. So it is a design that I was interested in. I got it as a gift a while ago, but it's not something I really went out of my way to pick up. But yeah, it's a neat figure. Like with a lot of the more kind of Cybertronian based like Michael Bay designs, the vehicle mode is a little bit nothing because it's not really based on much of anything, since he didn't actually, I don't think, have this vehicle mode in the movie. I don't think he ever transformed. He mostly just rode around on a giant, driller worm thing. So it's okay. It's got a few things that I find a little bit annoying, like the legs just hanging out on the side here, being, the treads there, and then you can clearly see the face here. And it's like, okay, this was not really based on any design, so I don't know why they purposefully made his head just doing like a peekaboo design instead of like folding to the inside of the body. I don't know. It seems like with him and Megatron, they like intentionally made it so the head was visible, which is a little weird, but whatever. Also, he gets away with it a little bit just because the entire design of the Michael Bay, designs in general just looks like robots made out of a bunch of knives. But one of his arms is just hanging out on the top right here, and it's like the hand is just right here, and it's like you can clearly see it. It's just like it camouflages a little bit because the whole design is that jagged. But again, I don't really like this vehicle mode. I think it is just kind of like a slump of knives, but it's okay. It's a Cybertronian tank, and it gets the job done. Again, his robot mode is what we actually saw in the movie, so that was the more important mode. But yeah, in terms of accessories, he does come with this weapon here that just pegs onto his arm. It is done in a really, really soft rubber, unfortunately. It does have some nice, like dry brushing kind of paintwork on it, but because it's so soft, it doesn't even really stay on super well. And honestly, I kind of think it makes both modes look worse, so I usually just leave that off to the side, even though he did have an arm blade similar to this in shape in the movie, so it's more accurate, I guess, to have it with him, but I just don't think it really adds a lot to the robot mode or the vehicle mode, so I usually just leave it off. But he also comes with these tiny little versions of Wheelie and Brains, the two little, sidekick guys. Obviously they don't transform or anything. They're just kind of non-posable, non-transforming little guys with some paint on them. Brains stands up okay. Wheelie is a little bit challenging to stand up. They're also a little bit rubbery, so you can kind of like squeeze them a little bit to kind of readjust the mass there, and it to varying effect. You can kind of get them there. And then it also comes with, kind of funny enough, one of those little, like, this literally looks like just like a dollar store toy. Like if I found this in a bin and I forgot that it came with Studio Series Shockwave, there is no way I would be able to identify that this came with a Transformers toy, because it really looks like one of those, like, just like little dollar store paratrooper guys that you can drop from like a really tall height and it will kind of glide around, because that's what happened in the movie. He got the parachute stuck on his face, and that's how Optimus Prime ended up being able to kill him. So again, this just goes in a box for me, but I guess to fill out the leader budget, they put that in there. He's kind of a substantial figure even by himself, so I don't know that they necessarily needed to, but more stuff is not unappreciated. But yeah, I don't really care for all this stuff. I just kind of put it off to the side. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for a standard one there. For another Shockwave comparison, here he is with Siege Shockwave without all of the, extra bits there. And I tend to prefer this kind of vehicle mode where it's like, oh, it can be a little spaceship, and then if you want, you can make it the laser pistol. I really prefer this vehicle mode for Shockwave rather than, like an H-tank or whatever, but, different interpretations. That's what they look like together. And for another similar tank mode, here he is with the Core Class Bumblebee movie Studio Series Shockwave. So you can see similar vibes there. A lot of these Shockwave designs that do the H-tank have like the feet in the front. The Transformers Prime design did that as well. But yeah, I like this one a little bit better. But again, this is really what I prefer as a Shockwave alt mode. But yeah, to get onto transformation, he's got some interesting stuff going on here, but you can kind of pretty much see how it's going to work. Like legs, arms, head, body. It's, you know, it doesn't really have that many surprises to it. You want to kind of unpeg the legs here from the side, and you can kind of fold up the feet. They're on kind of like a double hinge like that, so you want to compress them so they're actually sitting up like that. We can rotate these sections around, and then before we collapse these into place, we want to take basically the hose here, and it's kind of, you kind of have to just like feed it under here so it gets out of the way and doesn't bump against the ground in vehicle mode. And there's 2 tabs right here that will untab from these pieces, which will be the shoulders. And then you can kind of just double hinge this out enough just to get it out of the way. And then we can take the arms here, open them up, untab them from the body. Then we can kind of bring this piece up a little bit more just so we have the clearance to take the legs here, kind of compress them up on these armatures and just lock them into place like that. Then take this whole section, it will untab from the back and bring this up, and then it'll kind of double hinge up here in a way like that. You kind of want the hinges at that orientation so that you can kind of bring this section onto the back and then lock the arms into place. They'll just tab into the side of the body here. And then you can bring this backpack piece back down, kind of just collapse it up like that. And then adjust the arms pretty much and adjust the head, and there we have them. I'll have to adjust the camera here for a sec. Also, you want to take these pieces on the heels, which were covering his face in robot mode barely, and flip them around like that, and then just kind of flip them to the back like this to just be not really extra heel support. They just kind of hang out on the back of his heels. But yeah, let me just adjust the camera here real quick. But yeah, fairly simple transformation for a leader class figure, I'd say. Like, I wish he had a little bit more complexity to him. Like, I get that, you know, they don't really have a set goal for what the vehicle mode had to be, but, you know, I guess the robot mode is the thing that people want, so it makes sense to put more emphasis on that, but it does feel a little bit simple for a, you know, a leader class budgeted figure there. Here, this one leg is not quite sitting in place properly. You have to kind of work this tab into place. Yeah, there we go. So now it's actually locked in. But yeah, no, the robot mode does look pretty good. One thing that's always kind of annoyed me about the Bumblebee movie, the Dark of the Moon Shockwave design, is that the gun arm is on the right instead of the left like it usually is. Don't know why they made that decision. It just seems like kind of laziness on the on the part of the you know, design makers. But yeah, it's a cool looking design. Again, like I said, it does share a lot more in common with actual G1 Shockwave than most of the Michael Bay designs do. So it is something that I appreciated. Not that he had like a really significant presence in the movie, but yeah, no, looks cool. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint here, and then also is on that separate joint for transformation, just to have it kind of fold up into place. So you can kind of use that to your advantage, but it's a pretty decent range here. He gets a good amount of wiggle and rotation there, obviously. The shoulders are on swivels, so they can rotate around like that and then hinge out to the side. He's got a bicep swivel, about 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. Yeah, see, because this piece is rubbery, it just doesn't really, it tends to be easy to bump out of place. And also, I don't know, I think that just looks worse than that. I just think that's a lot cleaner. I know he had a blade in the movie, but like, it's not worth it. This hand is also that rubbery plastic and is on a little bit of a hinge here for no real good reason. I mean, I guess so it can kind of sit a little bit further down in vehicle mode, but whatever. Yeah. This arm, the elbow gets a little bit more articulation, and then he does have a little finger here poking out of the big gun arm for whatever reason, so you can articulate that. And then the hose is, you know, rubbery, obviously, and it has this hinge back here, so you can kind of adjust it. It doesn't actually, like, come off, so you have to leave the hose on there, which is fine. I think that it works pretty well. It doesn't seem to, like, really hinder the motion too much. Like, some of his joints could be a little bit tighter, but that's not really the hose's fault. There's nothing at the waist. Hips can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel, a little over 90 degrees of bend at the knee there, and then the feet can tilt forward and back and out to the side. So pretty good foot articulation. I hate these little pieces. They just don't have like a really good place to actually lock in. It seems like they should fold up even more so that they're not just like hanging out on the back of the heels and actually could fold up all the way and, you know, be tabbed in or something. But no, they just kind of chill back here kind of loosely, and I find it really annoying. Again, I just don't think that was the most elegant solution to handle the little peekaboo head, especially since, like, you didn't have to make it that way since he didn't have a vehicle mode in the movie. You could have just made it something that looked a little bit cooler instead of following the I don't know, in my opinion, kind of dumb Michael Bay movie aesthetic. But yeah, I don't know. I do think that the paint effects here with the sort of like dry brush purple over him looks really good. It's a nice metallic purple, and it has a lot of nice sort of like variety in the painted detail on there. So it, you know, it looks a little bit more vibrant than it did in the movie, but I think that that's, you know, to the figure's favor, because a lot of the movie designs were just kind of like dark and drab for no good reason. And then you can kind of, you know, twiddle around these little thrusters here, and you could in tank mode as well, kind of fold them out to the side. It's kind of neat. I found that a lot of joints on this guy, especially the ankles, are a little bit loose, so he kind of wants to topple over a lot of the time. He is a little bit like wibbly. None of his joints feel particularly as tight as they should, but you know, if you just get him in a static pose, usually he does okay. Obviously, we can bring on his other accessories here. I mean, they don't really interact with him anyway. They're just kind of the figure that it made sense to put these guys with, just so they could get Brains and Wheelie in there. And then obviously you could do the thing if you want of like having the paratrooper kind of like wrapped around him, but I just can't imagine anyone would actually use that as a display option. For me, it's a neat accessory, but I'm leaving it off to the side. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that average size deluxe comparison. And here he is with our other two Shockwaves here, kind of the G1 design and the other live action movie design. And yeah, I mean, I definitely like both these designs better, but I do think that there was something kind of fun about the Dark of the Moon Shockwave design. There's like just a few places in which I wish it was a little bit more G1, like maybe wish the eye was yellow, wish the gun was on the other side. But other than that, it's a nice blend of like the G1 design with the Michael Bay aesthetic. As much as I don't usually really like that aesthetic, it is nice to see Shockwave kind of looking G1-ish within that sort of realm. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. He's an okay figure. He's not one that I really find I pick up and mess with all that often, just because like, you know, in robot mode, he's kind of a pain to get standing just because of his joints, and he's not really that fun to transform back and forth because it's a simple transformation that kind of by default is not really clever because it makes just a blob of nothing, and I don't really like the vehicle mode. So he's a nice display piece with some nice paintwork that looks nice in robot mode, but he's not, I don't think, that fun as a toy in my opinion. But you know, a lot of this is just my bias against the Michael Bay design. So if those are designs that you like, then, you know, ignore all of my complaining about it, obviously. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to them. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Studio Series Dark of the Moon Shockwave.